A first sighting was all it took for Peter Grant to be smitten by Scott McTominay's talent. Working out whether he might actually be eligible for Scotland took a little longer. Alex McLeish's new assistant was at the Emirates Stadium last May when McTominay made his Manchester United debut as a late substitute. The physical stature and composure were such that Grant admits he feared the newcomer might be Scottish in name only. This is not, after all, a nation famed for producing 6'4" in midfielders. Hence why Gordon Strachan made his much-mocked reference to genetics hampering his last failed campaign. There was a grain of truth in there somewhere. Later learning that McTominay did, indeed, feel Caledonian to his core pleased Grant enough when he was merely another interested observer. Now that the 52-year-old is a key part of the national team setup, that delight is duly multiplied. He regards the recruitment of the Old Trafford youngster as the perfect start to a new era. Born in Lancaster to a Scottish father, McTominay made it clear to McLeish that he had no intention of seeking involvement with England when they met earlier this month. A Scotland call-up swiftly followed. Having trained with the squad for the first time, McTominay is set for a debut in Friday evening's friendly against Costa Rica. "I was actually at Scott's first game and didn't know he was Scottish," reflected Grant. "Right. I remember thinking, wow, where has he come from?" You read the story and he was the young man who didn't play much at Manchester United at under-18s and under-21s. That game I saw him in, he was like an old pro. He used the ball very well, played with enthusiasm, a knowledge and understanding. The first thing I saw was Mac and I was laughing about that, saying he must be Scottish. I had never heard of him before that night at the Emirates. You look at him and think he can't be Scottish because he's 6'4" in. Passes the ball really well and is playing central midfield for Manchester United against Arsenal. But then I was speaking to someone and they said, "I think he can play for Scotland, his dad is Scottish." The next thing it is in the papers and you think, wow, what an opportunity. In one of his first interviews he said he considered himself Scottish. It was like planes, trains and automobiles for Alex trying to get down to meet him because of the weather. But he said you could tell in 5 minutes what the boy was going to say. I'm excited as well. A good friend of mine is Michael Carrick, and if he can learn from a top player like that, one of the best midfielders in Britain, then it's a great opportunity for Scott. Grant believes the mentality McTominay has forged under Jose Mourinho's command can only be of benefit to Scotland. For all that he is playing for one of the most famous clubs in the world, the 21-year-old does not exude ego. People say he took his time selecting Scotland, but I think there was just a hell of a lot of things going on, argued Grant. He was concentrating on playing for Manchester United, getting into the team and learning from some world-class players. He has done that exceptionally well. The fact he is selected in the big games tells you a lot about his temperament and background. I think that's important, to have winners in your group, those who are talking about winning trophies and challenging, like Andy Robertson. He has done magnificently. Scott came in on Sunday night and was very humble. That has maybe got him as far as he has. You see a lot of young players who play once for the first team and think they're a player. You can tell Scott has been brought up the right way. He comes in with his eyes open as if he is willing to learn and is excited about playing football. Some guys turn up now and want the footballer's lifestyle but don't want to put the work in. If you said to them they were not playing on Saturday, it would not bother them. As with Darren Fletcher before him, however, there has to be realism about the type of player McTominay actually is. His value will not lie in regular outbreaks of eye-catching flair. If you watch the way he plays, that is what you want him to do for the national team, insisted Grant. You don't want him to be a right winger. He is not going to score 100 goals. He has an understanding to be the defensive one or the one who goes in advance. He has energy and ability. He can pick a pass. It is about intelligence. I think that is what he is great at. He has a knowledge of what his role is within the group. He is not scared of the ball, he gives it to players if they're on. That is what he'll do for Scotland. He has got to play the way he plays for Manchester United and not turn into something completely different. A lot of boys get caught up in that. They come to the national team and think they have got to do something completely different. Scott knows his strengths and his weaknesses. For me, he is only going to get better. It is without doubt a major fillip for Scotland. McTominay might not be the only player McLeish snatches away from England. He is thought to be monitoring Manchester City goalkeeper Angus Gunn, son of former Scotland international Brian, who is currently on loan at Norwich. The 22-year-old has previously represented England at under-21 level. Grant added, Angus is doing really well for Norwich. If he decided to come to Scotland, you would obviously embrace him with open arms.